Hi, welcome to this week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. I'm so excited. I've got Christine Donovan, Elizabeth Heights, and Wendy LaCapra with us this week. Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, you're welcome. Hi.
So we're going to jump right in with Christine Donovan's book because it's the first one that came out this week, and it's Betting on a Duke, and it's book 4 in the Widows of Mayfair series. Christine, can you tell us about this one?
Yes, Betting on a Duke features Lady Clarice Chesterfield, a young widow, and the Duke of Stanton, a thoroughbred horse owner about to embark on his first London racing season in Newmarket.
Fun.
7 years earlier, their future was planned and they were about to become betrothed, but Clarice's father was in debt. And at the time, the Duke was the second son and wasn't going to inherit. So he didn't really have the money to help her father. So he marries her off to an elderly lord. So years have gone by and she enters society, which is a common theme in my previous books because they are all widows.
It is.
And they meet up again. So they decide to try.
Romance.
Yes, second year they meet up again and they decide to see if their feelings can be rekindled.
Ah,
So it becomes a whirlwind time because he is racing his thoroughbreds in the London racing season. So we do touch a little bit on the racing industry back then. And
that's exciting.
right, they didn't run round tracks, they were flat. There were no stands. You just parked your carriage or stood along the side of the long mile-long tracks. It was very interesting researching it. So anyway, during that racing season, Clarice's father shows up and he tries to sabotage their courtship. So they really have a lot of obstacles to get over before they can finally have their happily ever after. But I think it's a really interesting story with all the racing industry, how it worked back then in thoroughbreds. I enjoyed writing it.
It sounds great, and I love learning things that I don't know about. So the learning about the racing thing would be really fun. And I think second chance romances are so beautiful because you already have like a little bit of intimacy built up,
Right.
so you can kind of
Right.
go the next step with the couple where they are now. They've had a whole life in between, It's like
Right. Right.
it's so much fun. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, that sounds fantastic. Well, the next book that came out this week is Envy Unchecked, and that's the first book in a new series. It's I had to look. It's the Lady Mary mystery series. I love that we're getting so many new Dragonblade mystery series. Like Lady Scarlet and the Duke, and that's an Allison Chase book. And we'll catch up with Allison. We'll catch up with Allison on a future recording, but I'll make sure I pop the link to her book in the comments so you can grab it if you haven't already and dive into Lady Mary's mysteries. But the book that came out after that is Wendy's book, and it's her Dragonblade debut, and it is marked as the Lion's Marchioness. I have to do it in my head over and over again to get Marchioness to get all the syllables in there.
And it's obviously a Lion's alliteration.
Can you tell us about this one, Wendy?
Well, it's when I was reading the Lion's Den series, I became really intrigued with the kind of murky world of the upstairs rooms, which and so I had this idea for a troubled person a troubled man who had a long connection with Bessie, who uses the upstairs rooms for assignations. But he doesn't want to be known, so he asks his lovers to be blindfolded.
Ooh. Mm. Well, this is naughty and fantastic all at the same time.
As the book begins, my heroine is running through the night because earlier in the evening, she and her sister were kicked out of Almack's because a duke swept her sister into a waltz, her twin sister into a waltz. And she got in trouble. She didn't have permission. She got in trouble for it. and they are kicked out of Almack's. They have 3 younger sisters. She's really worried about their orphans. So she's really worried about the younger sister's future. So she decides to set off to Bessie to find a husband. But she's mistaken. She doesn't have an appointment. She doesn't really know where she's going, and she's mistaken for the lady who's supposed to meet this man.
No.
So that's
Oh.
that's the setup.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a whole different thing than what she was asking for.
Yes, and she turns the table on him and makes him wear the blindfold. And it turns out later that he is the best friend of the Duke that got her sister in trouble. And they have to meet. And she knows who he is, but he does not know who she is.
Oh, I love this.
So.
This is so twisty. This is fantastic. Awesome.
There were a lot of twists. I'm a dancer, and there were a lot of twists that surprised me for a relatively short novel. But it was fun to write.
Awesome. And this is a connected Lion's Den, so you have a few other books that are going to also connect to this book.
It will spin off the next 5 or 4 books. The 5 sisters are my own series.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. Awesome.
And we don't have the rest of the sisters.
Yeah. We don't have a release date for that yet, do we?
We do. The first one releases in April 16th.
Oh, fun.
So,
fun. So we don't have to wait too long.
No.
This seems to be racing past. Awesome. Well, the next book that comes out this week is The Earl's Indifferent Daughter, and that's Elizabeth's book. And we're going from Regency to medieval, correct? And
Correct.
This is book 3 in the Sisters of Ember Hall.
Yes.
Can you tell us about this one?
I can. I'm going to have to get my head in the right zone, though, because I'm just finishing up writing a Lion's Den book. So you've been talking about Bessie Dove Lion. I'm like, my head's full of the book I'm writing at the moment. Back to The Earl's Indifferent Daughter. So yeah, this is book 3. This is about the youngest sister, whose name is Esme. We had book 1 where we talked about her eldest sister Frida. Book 2 was about Mirabelle. And Esme's sort of grown up in the shadow of these very accomplished sisters. Her eldest sister is sort of revered for being very wise. Then Mirabelle's revered for being sort of very kind and sweet. And then her closest sister in age, Isabella, who is book 4, she's very, very beautiful. So Esme just gets by on being happy. Like she loves life, and she just enjoys it as much as she can, and she loves to dance, and she loves ribbons, and she loves adventures, and she's in love secretly with one of her father's knights.
Oh my.
But she's not supposed to be in love with one of her father's knights because she's the daughter of an earl, and she's supposed to make a very grand match. But she's pretty sure that she'll be able to, swing things her way. But this man that she has, this lovely, lovely young woman, has given her heart to a man who does not deserve her. And I'm sure Dragonblade readers will see pretty quickly that he doesn't deserve her. So that's not the romance. She's passionately in love with this knight, but that's not the central story, because he doesn't treat her well. She ends up being unceremoniously dumped by him, really. They get together at this ball. They do things that she perhaps shouldn't have done, but she really wants to, prove her love to this man. And then he rides away and he says, "Oh, I've got to go. Obviously, he shouldn't be doing this because he works for her dad. So, very off that he's just riding away into the distance. He says, "Wait for me at Ember Hall. So leave Wolseley Castle, leave your father's home. Wait for me at your sister's house at Ember Hall. I'll come and get you." So off she trots. She's very optimistic by nature. She thinks, "Oh, it'll probably be fine." She goes to her sister's house, which is where all the previous novels have been set. It's in the countryside on the coast of the northeast of England. It's very remote and beautiful. She thinks, "Okay, I will wait for him here." Separately, there is a brooding bodyguard hulk of a man heading her way.
I'm in already.
Looking into the bodyguard trope here. So this man is called Adam. He is older than Esme. He's sort of in his 30s. He's had his heart broken from a very early age. His first love was killed in a border raid. He has learned to, and his parents were also killed in border raids. It's a very tumultuous time on the English-Scottish borders in the medieval era. So he's learned to bury his feelings. He's learned to bury all his emotions. He just lives to serve. So he is going to Ember Hall with the news that these are all characters. I'm sorry, there's a lot of names here, but with the news that Callum's father is dying. So Esme's relatives, who she went to stay with, they need to leave. They need to go to this man's deathbed. Adam, the brooding bodyguard type, stays to take care of Esme. And there
It's only one castle.
Yes. There we have the setup. We've got Adam, who is, very reserved, very sort of outwardly grumpy, but inwardly he obviously feels a lot. He just keeps it all buried. And then Esme's all like, da-da, all out there. She really wants to learn to sword fight, and she thinks, well, this is the perfect time. I've got nothing else to do, and here's this guy who can teach me. So there's lots of scenes with her sort of trying her best to persuade him to, step away from his duty and actually teach her to sword fight out on top of the cliffs. Lovely setting. And so obviously they fall in love, and then obviously there are lots of problems that they meet along the way, but it's a real story of Esme sort of coming of age and growing up, but also Adam learning to unbury his heart and sort of dare to dream, and obviously they meet in the middle.
Bodyguard and Grumpy Sunshine and Only One Castle and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah,
that sounds like so much fun. And there are 4 books in the series or 5 books in the series?
4 books in the series. So this is book 3, and then book 4 comes out in April, and that is Isabella's story.
Awesome. And you've got a Dragonblade book in between there or after? Lion's Den, not Dragonblade.
Lion's Den is after. So that is, I think it's June, either June or July.
Oh,
Good.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, there are lots of good things coming this year. Fantastic. Well, the last book that comes out this week is Once Upon a Wicked Wager, and it's by Cassandra Samuels, and it's book 1 in a new series too, and it's Spies Like Us. So I will make sure I put the link to that in the comments along with all the other books so you can grab it. Ladies, we still have a little bit of time left over, and I thought maybe we could talk about writing process. Like, are there certain things that you do when you sit down to write? Are there certain ways that you go about plotting your books? Are you pantsers? Are you plotters? Or what is your process? And maybe we could talk a little bit about research too, since Christine mentioned that earlier on. So somebody just go ahead and jump in.
I am currently writing a Lion's Den book. So I felt I needed to really plot this, and I went and read the first Lion's Den book I'm trying to get a good visual of the building and the floor plan and everything. So I haven't started it. I'm starting it, but I did write an outline last night up to like chapter 15, and that's really huge. That's huge for me because I'm really a pantser. But writing for Dragonblade is really good because it's forced me to be more of a plotter. I have sticky notes in every color. I love to buy all this great stuff. I don't necessarily use it though, but I am getting better in my outlining. So, and I had a lot of research for Betting on the Duke. And my 5th book, Vying for a Viscount, comes out in May. I have a lot of research in that. I had a lot of research in that book too. So research is fun, but anyway, I'm learning to be a planner.
15 chapters is not an insignificant outline.
I mean, it's not a huge, they're like 2-paragraph outlines each chapter, but I found it surprisingly easy. I'm not sure why, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see what it's like, how you feel about writing the book when you have it kind of plotted out.
Me too. I'm going to start this afternoon after we're done here.
Awesome. Wendy, you talked about things being like twisty and twist and turns and that kind of thing. And I think one of the fun things about writing, if you don't outline everything, is like when you kind of get thrown in a direction you didn't expect to go. Do you usually just roll with it, or?
I do. I just kind of sit down and write. And if I've given a proposal and I have to stick to it, it's much harder. But like with this book, I actually have a critique group that I work with, and one of my critique partners was like, "This event happens way too late in the book," and I was like, "I know, but I didn't know it was going to happen." So I actually had to rewrite it and put it in earlier in the book so that the flow happens. So there's more rewriting, but sometimes I don't know whether it's pantsing or if it's just that the first draft is my outline. That's probably more accurate. And then I go back and fill in.
Yeah, I always think that's like interesting because I think sometimes we start the book and you're writing along and then you're like, oh no, it really should start here, not where I started it, because you need to know all this stuff, but the reader really, this is where the reader's gonna want to jump in. So.
Absolutely, I tend to go over the first chapter like many times, 30 or 40 times, because I put things in there that are gonna spark other things that I don't even realize until after I've gone over it enough. I wish it. I'm hoping to be more efficient, but it hasn't happened. It's my 12th book and it hasn't happened yet. So
I keep talking to authors and everybody wants to not have those times where they like have to either rewrite or get rid of words or do that kind of thing. But I think you just have to respect the process that's yours. You know, like everybody is different about how they approach it, and your brain just works in the way it does. And I think we just have to respect what the process is. Elizabeth, do you plot heavily, or are you more of a just fly by the seat of your pants kind of writer?
So a bit of both, I would say. I have an outline, but it's like 4 or 5 pages for each novel. So I have a loose idea where everyone's going.
That doesn't feel that loose. That feels kind of...
Well, I don't have every other chapter planned out. I was like, wow, that's impressive when Christine said that. But yeah, I do need to know where everyone's going, but there's still room for twists. Like sometimes the characters, they surprise you and you're like, oh, this is actually going a different way. And I sort of let that happen a little bit. Because that's where the fun is, when the characters come to life. But in terms of sort of the writing process and inspiration, I'm sort of lucky where I live in the north of England. There's loads of castles and historic houses dotted around, and I just love wandering around them and just pondering the lives of people.
That would be
sounds amazing.
Sounds
amazing.
And,
that would be so nice.
Yeah, really, I really feel the fortune of it. Really, there's a beautiful old house about 45 minutes away from us called Haddon Hall, and it has this sort of claim to fame of being the best preserved house from medieval times. And there's a story about a particular bridge in the gardens that a daughter of the house was in love with someone who worked for her parents, and
that writes itself.
Stole downstairs in the middle of the night and ran away and met her lover on this bridge, and then they went away in a carriage and lived happily ever after. And when I heard that story, I was like, yeah, I've got to write about that character, and she's largely Esme, follows her heart.
So is Emberhall based on a real place, or is it just an amalgamation?
Yeah, I mean it's loosely based on the place that I've just talked about, Haddon Hall. Although in my fictitious version, it's by the sea, and the real life Haddon Hall is not by the sea. But yeah, it's really beautiful. It's gorgeous, and all the wood paneling in all the rooms, and you can just imagine.
Such envy now. You have to put pictures on your socials if you have them, so that we can live vicariously through you.
I will.
Right.
Awesome. So do all of you, do you write every day? Do you have to squeeze your writing in the mornings or in the evenings, or how do you find time? Do you have a ritual that you follow as far as how you find time to write?
I write in the mornings best. If I have to sort of leave it till afternoon, evening, it's not so good. I have to rewrite quite heavily. My my brain works best when I'm actually a little bit still asleep, to be honest, before I properly
Oh,
woke up and
nice.
started like thinking
Wow.
about all the logistical problems of the day ahead. So I get my, the best writing that I don't need to revise so heavily. I get that done really early in the morning, sort of get up at about 6 a.m., which actually I'm doing the Dragonblade readers group today, and somebody told me that they get up at 3:30, which made me think that 6 a.m. is not that early. It feels early to me.
3:30 is when small mammals are supposed to be sleeping.
That's a terrible hour. I wouldn't be able to function.
Especially this time of year. It is cold. It is dark. We're supposed to be dreaming. That's what's supposed to be.
Right,
Definitely.
right.
What about you, Wendy? When do you write?
I write whenever I can, and it's usually feast or famine for me. So I'm usually either really packing in the word count or not doing anything at all because it just needs to rest for a while, like baking bread. But I have learned recently, somebody suggested, Becca Syme suggests sometimes to write first thing, and then your mind cooks the rest of the day. So the very first thing, like Elizabeth was saying, and it really has helped up my word count so much. Like, I don't look at the phone, I don't do the email, I don't do anything. If it's a writing day, I write first, and then even if I have something else to do.
That makes perfect sense, and that like would seem to set you up for much better days than if you just let your mind have freewheeling access to everything in the morning. It's like,
yeah, absolutely, because it's so easy to get swept up into anything.
yeah, absolutely. Christine, what about you?
I'm going to have to try this writing first thing in the morning. I usually, like my morning this morning, I cleaned the bathrooms. Normally I write maybe from like 10 to 2 or 10 to 3. But today I was going to write after this so I opted to clean house and do some laundry, which wasn't fun. But I can see the benefit of having not done that and just sat. I mean, I have done before, gotten up and sat right at my computer. But you're right. I think I might be more creative and productive if I did that instead of like thinking I needed to do some cleaning first before I wrote. My priorities are wrong.
No. Well, sometimes though, when you write a little bit and then you go clean, or this happens with me, then it's kind of baking in the background. And you can come back and write more later. So
especially if you're stuck, or if you've written yourself into a place you didn't expect, and you have to either figure out whether you need to keep going or backtrack. And
right. And I try to go for a walk in the morning. So and that that helps definitely. If I go walking, I try to think about the writing, but I don't necessarily have the best writing schedule, but it does work for me.
Yeah. Alexa Aston talks about that, and I get so envious when she does, because she writes or she walks in the morning and dictates while she writes or while she walks, and then she's like, I mean, you talk about efficient. I'm like, man, I would fall, but if I could actually do it, it would be great. And then transcribes in the afternoon, so you get like that fresh burst of like just drafting, sketching kind of energy, and then the refinement kind of stuff comes afterwards. So
I did buy the Bluetooth headphone and speaker, so maybe I could try that. The dictating while I walk, I might trip and fall, hopefully not.
So if you manage to do it, I'm going to be so envious.
Because if it's thinking in my head as I'm walking, well, I might as well be talking it into a microphone. So I would like to, I have the stuff, I just need to implement it and try it.
So there are two things we want to hear back from you the next time we talk is how did the outlining part work out for you? And did the walking dictating thing work? Has anybody else tried dictating?
No,
I don't think it has to come out of my fingers.
yeah,
But
100%.
I was just thinking maybe I could do an outline in dictating, and then that might work. I might try it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I always feel I have to think and type. I can't think and talk. I'm not articulate when I'm using my mouth. I'm typing. But I do fully agree that when you're away from your screen, that's sometimes when you have your best ideas. For me, it's usually when I'm hanging out the washing that I'm like, oh,
Yeah, right when you don't have anything to write with. Yeah. So are you coffee or tea drinkers?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Tea.
Tea.
Faith.
Coffee for you too?
Yes.
So are we
What do you
black coffee or cream and sugar? Or do we want it fancy?
Just milk for me. I used to, when if I'm ordering a coffee, I used to always order a latte. And then I read that actually there's so many calories in that you might as well be getting like a latte and a bun. So I just get a plain coffee now.
What do you like, Evelyn?
I drink coffee, and I find if I'm writing and I don't have it sitting next to me, I end up reaching for something that isn't there. So it's always cold. Like maybe for 4 minutes of the day I get to drink hot coffee, but the rest of the time it's always cold. But I do find myself reaching for it if I don't.
I wish I liked it because this whole thing you're always reading in other characters in the books that they have to have their coffee in the morning. And I just wish I could drink it to get the caffeine. So I'll drink tea, but then in the afternoon I'll have Coke with caffeine.
Well, there you go.
Because I don't think tea has enough caffeine in it to really give the boost.
But it does seem kind of fancy. Like coffee seems kind of, pedestrian, and tea seems kind of fancier. Are you black
Well,
tea
I
or
just
green
drink.
tea?
I only drink plain black tea. I don't drink all the fancy stuff.
There's a green tea. I don't know if it's a green tea, but there's a tea called mate, and it's really bitter. But it has so much caffeine. If the coffee stops working and I'm on a deadline, I go for the mate.
Oh goodness! Well, that would be good information to have. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's interesting that you're all writing Lion's Den books. Is that is it different than working in your other series?
Who wants to go first?
You do it. You start talking.
Okay. I had these characters in my head already, so I just adapted them into the Lion's Den when I was.
Oh, nice.
So he's called the Duke of Doom. You can just imagine why
A cloud over his head.
they have dubbed him the Duke of Doom. And he needs Mrs. Doveline's help. So I reversed it. He needs her help to find a wife instead of how sometimes it's the lady that goes. So I had the characters already. So I don't think it was too much. It was just getting the feel of an already created world that I didn't create and fitting my characters and everything into that world. But yeah, it's good.
What about you, Elizabeth? Because that's Regency is a shift from medieval.
Yeah, it is. But I do really enjoy the Regency period. And I wrote a Regency set novella for the Duke's anthology last summer. So I was comfortable writing in that era. But it took me quite a long time to get comfortable writing in the Lion's Den world. So I did so much research. And I was so sort of aware of the need to get all the details right, what kind of china Bessie Dove-Lyons drinks from and the layout of the Lion's Den. And I got so into all that, I was almost scared to write. And then I had to think, okay, enough, just start writing. And then I loved it, really enjoyed it. It's a really.
I can see how that would be paralyzing, though. Like, you get so caught up in getting things right and on the things that have come before you that
it's very different to sort of creating your own world, and you're in charge and you know everything. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Good fun.
Wendy, what about you?
Yeah. I got really caught up on the Black Veil parts. Yeah, there's a short story, and I can't remember. I think it might be Longfellow that wrote it. I'm not sure, but I had to write a paper on it in high school about a minister that decides to wear a black veil, and basically he becomes a pariah in his community because people are like, why are you wearing a black veil? And so that really stuck with me, and I think I used that kind of feeling a lot in the book. It's fascinating. It's a wonderful world. It's really great to read. It's great to write. So much fodder for the imagination in the gaming den.
Awesome. And I think that black veil thing, I think that's a writer's brain. You know, when you catch on something and then you start building all this stuff around it. Why is this so? You know, it's like, it just seems a writer's brain thing. Ladies, it was a delight talking to you today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to make sure that I put the link to all your books and also Allison and Cassandra's books in the comments, so you can grab them if you haven't gotten them now. You want to watch when Dragonblade books go on release, you are on pre-order, you want to grab them. You have 2 weeks from the time they go on pre-order when they're like less than a bad cup of coffee. So you want to jump on them right then and there. If you don't grab them, then you can always read in Kindle Unlimited, which is my favorite thing to do now, because you don't even have to think about whether you ought to or not. You can just do it. So ladies, thanks again for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank